What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Dear Miss Fantasy Show with me, your host, Tara Roberts. This is the official mailbag show for Player Profiler. It is Wednesday, May 6th. And I'm starting an hour late for the live show. Unfortunately, was a little busy, and I was hoping that it would wrap up by 7. I got a or by 8 p.m. EST time for you guys. Getting my AC replaced, which is awesome. But unfortunately, that means that it's extremely hot right now, because that means that while it's been replaced, the AC has been off. So I'm a little toasty. And if I look like I'm glistening, just understand that I'm in Houston, Texas, and it is a wee bit hot here. So other than that, I am at least glad that I could get in here and do the live show for you guys. We'll keep it to about 30 minutes or so, because it is a little bit late, but I wanted to make sure we got something in this week, because we've got some fun questions and stuff. Already got the chat going here. Ride Some Wave 888 said, "What's up, looking good as always. Wear some beach wear." Yeah, make it a little beach theme here. Now it's nice and toasty, but it also means that in the future, this summer, all of my shows will be nice and icy cold. So yay. And it's also 3 p.m. where you are. That's awesome. That's right. We do have a lot of different time zones for viewers here. So, hey, we can vary it up every now and then. But we're going to go ahead and get started, because I've got some fun mailbag questions for you guys. Because as I promised, I am recommitting myself to actually doing the mailbag questions for you guys. And of course, if you ever have any mailbag questions, you can always send them to me and say, hey, let's talk about this on the show. That is perfectly fine on that one. And I will make sure that I include them. But it's some good ones. We've got some conversations themed around battling backfields and battling wide receiver cores, where we ultimately don't know who is going to be the 100% sure going to be the alpha in those offenses. So we're going to do a little this or that, comparing players and situations and trying to figure out what's going on and which of these guys can we trust, who do we prefer. And of course, if you're in the chat, you can drop your comments and let me know what your preference is there. But we'll start us off with a bing here. And then I'll, of course, if you have any questions at all, as always, drop them into the chat and I will answer them live as well. Yeah, we're doing both some wide receivers and running backs here. Got both of them. And we're going to start off with Bhayshul Tuten here. Let me go ahead and remove my banner, as always, so we can fully see this. Bhayshul Tuten versus Chris Rodriguez. Question mark, who we got here? This one is an interesting one, because I based off where we were at last season, it's so funny how things changed so dramatically with the Jags in terms of the expectations for that backfield. Remember last offseason, everybody was debating in terms of whether or not it was going to be Bhayshul Tuten or Tank Bigsby, and writing off Travis Etienne as if he would be sailing off into the sunset in his contract year. Then we had Tank Bigsby traded. Obviously, it was not Tank Bigsby season, which was weird because they were giving him the vast majority of the RB1 reps. And we thought, okay, that'll benefit Bhayshul Tuten. It really was just Travis Etienne all along, my Clemson boy right there. And then we had Travis Etienne exit. So you think the logical, easy solution would be, well, Travis Etienne is gone, so it's Bhayshul Tuten season finally. It's here. This is a prospect that everyone was super hype and pumping up. And instead of people being all in on Bhayshul Tuten season, now I'm hearing a lot of it's going to be Chris Rodriguez, which is funny. The Jags debates will be the bane of our existence for the offseason. We're going to be debating these running backs. And it's funny because of what happened last season. We 100% know that whoever is getting the first team reps, it doesn't really matter, because that doesn't really mean anything for in terms of who they will be trusting. It's made very clear that as they're working through training camp and OTAs, just keep in mind that just because we're getting certain orders of reps doesn't necessarily mean that's how they will be operating heading into the season, because they could be running tests, trying to figure out who fits well into what kind of situation. So we're going to get a wide variety of information coming out. And it's going to be tough for us to kind of pinpoint based off history who exactly is going to be the starter. But we can use our powers of deduction to try and figure out what is going on here and really break down the stats of these two guys here. Looking at Chris Rodriguez, obviously he had a nice season there. Let me turn to his stats there real quick. He had a nice season in Washington, taking away Jacory Croskey-Merritt season there. When we look at Rodriguez and what he did with Washington last season, overall, it worked out well in terms of it being a good season for him, but not really usable for us from a fantasy perspective. Like he was a waiver wire ad, right? And we could maybe try and stream him because at some point it became very clear that he was the preferred goal line option. He had 6 total touchdowns, 500 rush yards on 112 attempts. 3 receptions, though. At this point in his career, we've got ample enough evidence to know for a fact that he is not a pass catching back. He is not a blocking back. He will never be a third down back. That is not the utilization for him. But unfortunately, we don't really have that confirmation for Bhayshul Tuten either. When we look at Bhayshul Tuten's stats from last season, the confidence that the Jags showed in him was really more so confidence, in particular at the goal line, interestingly enough. Funny, really. I was actually just writing some stuff for a video for him on my YouTube channel that I'm going to be dropping on Friday. So when we're looking at him and his stats moving forward and looking at last season, he actually got pretty strong usage at the goal line. He was more effective and more efficient than Travis Etienne, oddly enough, at the goal line. He had 5 touchdowns inside the red zone. 4 of those were inside the 5 in particular. And given the fact that it was about, I think, 6 attempts, really impressive conversion rate. He also had a couple of receiving touchdowns. So that's a positive because even though we didn't see him aggressively used in the pass game in general, they did show the trust to be able to utilize him as a receiving option at the goal line. So maybe the blocking isn't there, but trustworthiness as a pass catcher, we do know that he has hands. So that's not a problem. It's just whether or not they can develop him into someone that they truly trust as a pass blocker this offseason. Because when we look at them, drafting wise, we did have the addition of Jamari Taylor there at the end, and more so a option maybe as a receiver. He's a smaller back. I would not say he profiles in any way, shape, or form to be a 3-down back here. We also have LaQuint Allen Jr. on roster, who is actually a very good pass blocker. We actually talked about him on a YouTube video in terms of being a sneaky free agency winner because in terms of the guys that are currently on that roster, he actually is the clear best pass blocker. So perhaps he can carve out a little role there. But when we're looking at Tuten versus Rodriguez, the foregone conclusion that Rodriguez will have this preferential treatment, obviously him being brought in there, connection to the coach, preferential treatment as a early down goal line back here. I don't think that's necessarily it here. So I think that Bhayshul Tuten still has strong viability in terms of guys that I would prefer to draft. I know what Chris Rodriguez is, and I think that we can see more of Bhayshul Tuten and him building on what we saw last season. Because again, we've got the clear trust at the goal line. So if they expand upon that role, yeah, I feel good about it. And I think we're going to continue to get him at good value because at the end of the day, yeah, we'll get hyped as we get towards the preseason, but I don't know if it's ever going to be gassed up to the point where we'll be drafting him as a top 20 back. So low end RB2 ADP is probably the most realistic high end expectation for him. I would feel comfortable drafting him at that position. Yeah, we don't love that Chris Rodriguez is there, but I am still giving that edge to Bhayshul Tuten. I would rather go with the upside there. And then jumping to the comments here, Ride Some Waves 88 says Tuten 8th round is a steal. Yeah, there's going to be value. And again, if you're looking at the rankings, I don't have consensus rankings, but I'll actually did a rankings show today. But off the top of my head, I kind of have consensus rankings. It's guys like Bucky Irving that are ahead of him. Obviously, Travis Etienne, who's another later low-end RB that's kind of in the same area. Cam Scattaboo was kind of in the same area there. Then you dip into the Travion Henderson, David Montgomery situation. So when you're kind of looking at that area where he's being drafted, it makes sense to go ahead and try and shoot for the upside there rather than playing it safe with him. RJ Harvey, thank you. That's another one that's kind of he's dropping though. I think he'll be clearly low, end up being probably clearly lower than Tuten because maybe we'll feel a little bit more comfortable, but his ADP and rankings is rolling back in consensus rankings because of the Jonah Coleman drafting there made us, and understandably, because I'm firmly on this as well. He's falling in my rankings just because I feel very uncomfortable with the fact that once J.K. Dobbins goes down, there's another body that profiles as a direct J.K. Dobbins replacement there. Yeah, the Ride Some Waves 88 is saying Jonah Coleman gonna be the guy. You know, that's the fear there, right? And that's why I think we'll probably all end up on the same page of being skeptical of Harvey, especially given what we've seen from Sean Payton backfields during his tenure at Denver. And then on top of that, I like what RJ Harvey did from a fantasy perspective last season. It worked out. He gave us top 10 numbers, but the problem there is that he was not incredibly efficient on the ground. And a lot of that production came via touchdowns and the receptions. And I'm sure that Sean Payton noticed that comparatively next to J.K. Dobbins, there was a clear difference in efficiency on the ground. I like RJ Harvey, but perhaps if he's not able to handle that, being as effective as some of these other bigger guys, not that RJ Harvey is a smaller guy, but as some of these other guys that have a little bit more size and push to them, then yeah, unfortunately, it is going to put him in an awkward situation. So probably committee situation at best, right? Where we know odds of him being a sole 3 down back at this point, it's working against him. Whereas a guy like Bhayshul Tuten, it's realistic that he could ascend as just the 3 down guy and take over for Travis Etienne there. So yeah, I'm glad that we've got some positive comments around Bhayshul Tuten in the chat. Miles Logan says the Tuten train is coming, toot toot. What else we got here in terms of Bhayshul Tuten? Let's see. I thought I saw some other ones here. I thought, or maybe I'm just imagining that I saw some more Bhayshul Tuten comments there. But Ride Some Waves does say only Jag I would trust is Parker Washington. That's a valid point. I don't know if we'll talk about the wide receivers on this show, but at some point we'll get to the wide receivers in general for sure for the Jags, because that's a massive question mark that it's going to take some time to break down in terms of, they're stacked, right? Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr. Does he have a bounce back there? To what degree are they going to use Travis Hunter? I think Liam Cohen is saying, no, he's going to play both ways. Now, okay, we'll see. I do have confidence that he'll still play both ways, but I do think that there's going to be a severe reduction in terms of the receiving and maybe more specific designed and more gadgety plays. So when he's in, odds of him touching the ball pretty high, but not an extreme snap count because they've got so many bodies there, and you need the help on defense. It just does make sense to push him more towards defense there. But jump into the chat here to see some other stuff from Just Lift D1W. Can you do a top 12 wide receiver and top 10? And a top 10 round for rookies, please. Maybe a fantasy draft in the future. Yeah, we can do that. We can talk, maybe we can do a rank. Did we do a rankings up? No, let's do a rankings update next week. And then, some drafts as well. I am in the middle of my first, rookie draft as well. Thus far I've made 2 picks. I had 2 first round. No, I've made 3 picks. I had 2 first round picks, which at the time, obviously last year, when I acquired the extra pick, I was feeling pretty good. Right. But unfortunately, they ended up being picks 7 and 8, the 2 picks that I had. So I feel good about it. I did manage to grab Jadarian Price, and then I went ahead and got Kenyon Sadiq, just hoping for the future. I figure, slim bets for this year, but in terms of long-term investment in Dynasty, I'm crossing my fingers on that one, just comparatively to some of the other options that you have as a late round 1 rookie pick there. So those are the 2 that I walked away with. So I feel pretty good about that, as good as you can feel about those nasty rookie drafts. So that's my 1 rookie draft update. And then I have 1 that starts in a couple of days. So, and then another later, but yeah, so that's good. That's good. So we'll do some mock drafts as well to try and figure out where these other guys are at. Hazelnut 22 in the chat says one keeper, Bhayshul Tuten or Tyler Warren. Oh, I want to be optimistic on Bhayshul Tuten, but the fact that you can get him so much, you should be able to get him theoretically later than you will Tyler Warren. I've already seen earlier in the offseason, Warren was tight end 5 in ECR. Now he's up to tight end 4. I don't think he will ever creep into the top 3 just because we seem very solidified right now that our top 3 is clearly McBride, Bowers, and Colston Loveland. And those could flip interchangeably, but those are our solid tier 1 guys, and I don't think that anyone is going to penetrate it. My preference there for a keeper is going to be Tyler Warren. Ironically, we'll have that transition into our next no, did I have Josh? No, I don't have Josh Downs as a question on here. So actually I was thinking of Josh Downs, but I realized I was just writing a write-up for an article on Josh Downs. That is not one of our questions here. But when I'm looking at the pass catchers for Indianapolis, I think there's a legitimate chance that Warren could end up easily being a 100 reception guy this year. He was a 100 target guy last year. When you look at the Chiefs, not the Chiefs, when you look at the Colts schedule, the thing about it is that last year it was a kind of a weird situation, right? Where the front half of the season was loaded with slightly easier matchups. Back half of the season was very rough. Then you combine that with the fact that Daniel Jones got injured in the back half of the season. I think the identity in terms of volume that we see, obviously we need Daniel Jones to come back to his at least close enough to the original version that we had towards the beginning of the season. But I think that beginning portion of the schedule that we saw here in terms of their performances, Jonathan Taylor was amazing. Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren was better in the first half of the season as well. I think that's the identity of the Colts that will carry on moving forward here. The exit of Michael Pittman is very beneficial for Tyler Warren, probably going to open up more touchdown opportunities. So if we have those solidified targets that we know existed even in a crowded wide receiver pass catcher room last year, get an uptick in volume, more receptions, and more touchdown opportunities, I think Tyler Warren does have a legitimate shot. Probably not at being the overall tight end 1, just because he has more bodies to deal with than, say, a Brock Bowers, right? And even like a Colston Loveland. And obviously Trey McBride's volume is just so baked in at this point, but really just solidified potential top 3 upside there for Tyler Warren is real. So Warren is the one that I would keep there. I love Bhayshul Tuten, but the upside that I'm feeling for Tyler Warren is just so high on him. Then we had from Michael Aubin, Aaron Jones question mark. Aaron Jones, and that's a funny one. Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason as a backfield it was very uninspiring last season. And I don't trust Aaron Jones to be able at his age and what we saw in terms of the decline last season in terms of overall production efficiency. It was just, he had career lows across the board in every single category, with the exception of his rookie year, obviously. I think we are at the downturn of his career here. So while it's great that he theoretically retains the lead back role in that offense, I don't know if I trust the longevity of him just as he is in terms of workload due to age. So it makes it interesting because it makes you wonder, okay, do we want to invest in Jordan Mason? He can't be a 3-down back because the pass catching isn't really there. They also drafted in day 3 Desmond Claiborne, who does actually profile as a direct replacement for Aaron Jones. So that's an interesting little sleeper, particularly in rookie drafts, that you should mark as well. So I'm not feeling super positive about Aaron Jones just due to the age there. But we should have a good turnaround in a positive direction for the offense as a whole with Kyler Murray. I think clearly the message that we're getting from Minnesota is they think it's all J.J. McCarthy's fault and that everything is going to turn around and be far better on offense with Kyler Murray there. So that'll be interesting, but not a lot of faith there for him. Just Lift D1W says top free agents you haven't that haven't actually signed with a team. It's you kind of wonder where will Jawan Jennings end up? Because he's a solid wide receiver too. And there's a lot of teams that could use a wide receiver too. But I think at this point, probably the holdup in him, if I had to guess, because it's not as if he's too old. He's not in that, Keenan Allen age category. My guess, based off the fact that he wanted the contract adjustment with San Francisco last season, is that he might be asking for more than he's worth, maybe, which I get it. It may be a better opportunity if he sees himself as a wide receiver one. But at this point, like, you're a wide receiver two, buddy, and the contract that you're going to get is not within the realm of what you probably ideally want. And it's tough because there's great spots that truly need him, like a Miami, but I don't think that a Miami has the ability to even afford him on a lower contract, right? But if they could snag him and make it work, if they can make the numbers work, I would love to see him in a Miami, because I could easily see him be the top target guy there. Just because the only, rookies that they drafted were Caleb Douglas, doesn't really profile as a wide receiver one, and then Chris Bell. I always get Skylar and Chris Bell flip-flopped here, but Chris Bell is the one that we have in Miami. And Chris does profile as a wide receiver 3. I like Chris Bell a lot. Problem is that he's coming off of an injury, and I would not be shocked if we don't really see him for the majority of the first season, kind of like that minimized rookie season that we got from Jameson Williams coming off of his injury when he was entering as a rookie. So that's the one that I'm very interested in seeing where he actually lands there. Other comments here that we got. Yeah, a lot of comments around Jonah Coleman. I know. Thank you. We're all on the same page. This is an interesting one here from Leaving 2436. Strange breakout. So the Jags drafted a tight end that I like a lot in Tanner Koziol, who is really only I'm not saying he can't block, but really heavily a receiving tight end. So I'm very curious as to if they try and maybe push him as more of the receiving option and Strange is the better blocking option. So I don't know. He's obviously, when in terms of rankings, he's been sitting kind of in that clear, like mid-tier tight end 2. He could see a decent amount of volume, but again, there's so many bodies there that the ball can be spread around. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out, but I'm kind of curious to see how Tanner Koziol is going to work out over there. Thank you, Ride Some Waves. I appreciate the comment on that one. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Also said Price is a beast. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to get him as well. Don't know if I'm going to be able to use him very much, just because I've got some better options there to start off the season, but hopefully, earning that 3-down role would be fantastic if they can flip to that and not make us do that awful committee again. Let's see here. Leaving also has one. Pierce is going to, question mark. Pierce is going to disappoint for fantasy. I think so again, I was doing a ranking show and we actually talked about Alec Pierce. I was doing a ranking show with Fantasy Pros. It'll be out this week probably. And we were talking about Alec Pierce, and I think he's really appropriately priced. Both me and Pat Fitzmaurice were higher on our rankings than consensus rankings for him. Because at the end of the day, at least he's got that boom bust quality to him. And we could see a little variance in his targets to the point where we're not seeing him as that exclusive deep threat. Now that Michael Pittman is gone, maybe we get more versatile usage of him and varied and more intermediate targets, not just the deep ball. My only fear would be, Daniel Jones coming off of the Achilles. I mean, we saw it with Kirk Cousins. Like sometimes, depending on how it heals, how your body works, it can be hard to push off and get the ball downfield. So that would be my only fear. I want to see how Daniel Jones is looking with the deep ball in OTAs. But as long as that's good, I still feel good about Alec Pierce, because the great thing about him is that he's not going to be creeping into the top 24. I don't anticipate that. Even if we get hype videos, rankings are still going to probably have him in the wide receiver 3 category. So that's very good value on a guy that was, putting up massive boom games for us. So I do like Alec Pierce a lot. I don't know that he's going to be giving us top 12 numbers, but if I'm drafting him as a wide receiver 3 flex option, a guy that I know that I could put out there and he can get me 25 fantasy points on a given day, yeah, I'd go for it. Shoot for the upside there over some of the more middling options. Like, let's say a DJ Moore, who we love, right? And say, is DJ Moore more talented than Alec Pierce? Yeah, factually. But looking at the offense, right? We know that DJ Moore is going into a Bills offense that loves to spread the ball around, and pass volume can be a little inconsistent. They lean heavily on the run game with James Cook and obviously Josh Allen. So, and often those targets are not predictable. So you will be getting those nasty little potential 0 fantasy point games that we saw for receivers last year. With the Bills. So yeah, if I'm looking at that and I want to, shoot for upside, yeah, better, more consistent passing situation would indeed be Alec Pierce. So it's going to be funny. Yeah. Catching the bombs and whatnot. Yeah. Will DJ be ready though for the early parts of the season? It seems like it. So as long as we don't have any issues with that, we should be okay. And then Michael Aubin says Claiborne at the 201 of my rookie draft. I don't think you have to do it. Matter of fact, let me pull up. I'm mid-draft. I don't think anyone in my draft is watching this show. I don't think so, right? Where are we at in my draft? We're taking a live look here because I'm picking soon. I am 3 picks away. So 3 picks will come before me. And Claiborne is still available. This is 3rd round, 3 picks away. My next pick is at the 7th pick of the 3rd round. Claiborne's still there. Mike Washington is on the board. He is the next next guy up in ADP. And then the next running back after that is Claiborne. So round 3 is realistic. And this is a industry league. So these are all fantasy analysts. So it's a pretty sharp group here. And Claiborne's still there. They better not be. If Claiborne's there, I will be taking him. I've got Claiborne. Obviously, I've got Claiborne marked. If Mike Washington fell, I would take him. And then I also like Jacoby Lane there. So those are my guys. So hopefully, I don't think anybody from the draft is watching this live. Nah, they won't do that to me. All right. But yeah, I think 3rd round for Claiborne is very appropriate there. But again, as you're doing the 2nd round picks, I will say this, ADP is all over the place. And obviously as you get into the 2nd round, it becomes very muddied. So it's also a kind of get your guy area where it's like, it's whatever, ADP, whatever. Don't feel bad about reaching on somebody that you want. Because there's not a whole bunch of sure picks there. So just get whatever you want. Michael Aubin also says, long term, I really like Adam Randall. I do too, obviously. Clemson, I do like Adam Randall too. I defend my little poor Clemson players because I think there were a lot of reasons as to why the team was so bad last season. Adam Randall has the ability to, in the right situation, I think, be developed into a reliable running back there. Obviously, the size is very critical for him, and this, skill set as a receiver. Oddly enough, weirdly enough, because he's a converted receiver, right? Weirdly enough, he had more receptions as a running back than he did as a receiver. Take that for what it's worth. But I think that's a really cool little play off of Derrick Henry. A nice little 1-2 punch there between big and big, right? So they're no longer coming at you with, hey, we're hitting you with Derrick Henry and then we're going with the tiny little speedster. No, we're hitting you with Derrick Henry and then we're going with big also speedy as well. So that can pass catch, and he does need to work on blocking, but that can be developed obviously for him just because he wasn't a running back for the vast majority of his career. So he never had the opportunity to develop. It's not as if he can't. He's a big guy. I'm certain that he can figure out how to block with all that body. But yeah, I like him as a 1-2 punch there and maybe ascending ahead of Justice Hill. We know that there is a limit to how much they have Derrick Henry on the field because of the, not wanting him there on 3rd down. So he can get some burn there. So I am pretty excited about it for sure. This one is a good little one for this question here from Henry Odom. Who is your pick for the Commanders backfield and redraft? Let's transition to my next. I don't know which graphic it is. I can't see. Perfect. That was the next graphic. That was the next question that I had for mailbag. What is our trust level on Jacory Croskey-Merritt? So thank you, Henry Odom, for literally the perfect transition on that one. My trust level is, if I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's at a 6. I feel decently good. The one thing that I know for sure is that apples to apples on the ground in terms of efficiency, Jacory Croskey-Merritt will beat Rachaad White all day of the week, right? Because on the ground work is just not super efficient for Rachaad White. We've seen it through multiple regimes and offensive lines and whatnot. And we know that about him, right? But he is a great blocker, great receiving option. That's the edge that he has on Jacory Croskey-Merritt, which leads me to believe that obviously committee situation. But I don't mind a committee situation there because of the level of upside that he showed in terms of being able to build up massive yardage because of those breakaway runs, right? So if he had the role that he had last season, but not had Chris Rodriguez in there taking a lot of that early down and goal line workload as well, I would have felt a lot more comfortable with Jacory Croskey-Merritt last season. So Chris Rodriguez gone. The only thing that we have to worry about is Kaytron Allen, who does profile very directly as a guy that is going to be an early down home run type of hitter. So very similar running backs. He is not going to be the pass catcher as well. Maybe he can showcase that a little bit, but blocking is not his specialty. So I think for 100%, we're looking at Washington continuing this kind of committee situation. And it's just a matter of between Jacory Croskey-Merritt and Kaytron Allen, if Kaytron Allen is going to be able to creep in there and try and steal some of that workload there. But I like Jacory Croskey-Merritt a lot. I have him ranked at RB 36 right now. His consensus ranking, I don't know where his, do I have rankings pulled up? No, I don't have rankings pulled up. That sucks. I'm usually better about that. I can get it pulled up here real fast. I have him ranked at RB 36, and consensus ranking for Jacory Croskey-Merritt is at RB scrolling 36. Okay. So yeah, borderline RB3, RB4 territory there. Very reasonable. We're not going to have to get his ADP gassed up at any point there. If you're looking at the guys being drafted around him, it's a Blake Cora, J.K. Dobbins, Kyle Monangai, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Gainwell, Rachaad White. So it's all committee situations. So it's just a very committee heavy area. Why not go with the guy that at least has shown the ability to have those massive breakaway runs and high upside? If we can get him into that nice little 12 to 15 carries range and just some goal line opportunities, that would be great. And obviously the offense will be more efficient there with Jaden Daniels healthy, right? So, and obviously he does have rushing upside as well. But often the rushing quarterbacks, especially ones that they're not trying to aggressively push at the goal line because you maybe have a body that you need to protect, as we do with Jaden Daniels. Maybe they treat it more of like a Lamar Jackson situation where he's running significantly, but not a ton of touchdowns at the goal line because you have that bigger body back that would be just better from a health perspective to utilize. So maybe we can get that type of usage. It does open up things in terms of the ability to have those breakaway runs. So I feel decently good about Jacory Croskey-Merritt. If you have to maybe take that hero RB strategy, I would not do 0 RB and start off with him. That's pushing it. I would want somebody that has more of a stable role, more of a guarantee. Because even last year, remember, with the removal of Brian Robinson, we all thought like, Jacory Croskey-Merritt season, it's happening. And that did not happen. So it's another situation similar to Jacksonville where we have to kind of temper our expectations in preseason and not get too hyped, because what happens in preseason and OTAs versus what happens when we're actually in regular season games are two different things. But as long as he stays in that nice RB 36 range, that's a nice area to take a chance on him as a bench player or as an RB2 if you're taking a hero strategy and investing heavily in wide receivers and an early tight end and quarterback as well. Let's see here. Yeah, Michael Alvin says Tara, you better wheels up on Bill. It could be wheels up. It really could, for sure. And And then Hazelnut says, give Tara some likes. Thank you, Hazelnut. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Ride Some Waves says Loveland is going to be the main guy in Chicago. I think there's a good chance. Again, I was just talking about this on the rankings show today. The rankings for the Chicago wide receivers are very interesting. Right now, it is Luther Burden that is ranked higher than Rome Odunze, obviously, because we've got we were burned on the Rome Odunze, looking fantastic through 3 games, and then disappearing. Now injury did play a role, but that was one of those highly concerning situations of is he actually going to be reliable for us moving forward, or was what we saw a mirage? Is the upside really there? He's so talented, right? But he's not the only talented guy who put up numbers and then disappeared, right? But looking at the rankings for Chicago, wide receivers, that is, Luther Burden is wide receiver 21 right now. And wait, is this correct? Yeah. Draft rankings, half PPR. Okay. Luther Burden is wide receiver 21 right now, which is it might be a little bit aggressive. And then Rome Odunze is wide receiver 29. That's a pretty decent gap there, honestly. Pretty good little discount on Rome Odunze if you want to take the chance there that maybe with DJ Moore gone, we get more varied usage from Rome Odunze and not just let's send Rome Odunze downfield and throw a bomb and hope he gets it. But obviously the one in terms of volume and usage, the higher potential there is for Luther Burden to be the more consistent fantasy asset. But realistically, low end wide receiver 2 for him, right? I do think that Loveland is going to be the target later. And I always want to be cautious about tight ends because those rookie bursts that we see often come back and burn us in the second year. But to be fair, it's not like he had it for the entire season there. So I am feeling positive on him. Let's see here. Yeah, we're getting some comments here. Katron Allen could be in the mix. Yep, Rashad White. And so the thing on that is Derek was saying, so Rashad White will factually be in the mix for sure because he is the only one on that roster that can catch. That is a proven pass catcher and a proven good blocker. And for what it's worth, that is such a valuable asset there, especially when you have a franchise quarterback like Jane Daniels that you have to protect. They're not going to be risking it. So Rashad White is 100% going to have a third down role there because of the level of reliability that he has as a pass blocker and a receiver. So he's got a role. That one's not going to change, but just him on the ground, it ain't the most efficient thing in the world, though. But there is a lot of, Derek says I have shares of all of them. It's worth it, honestly, because, again, we're not making massive investments on this guy. We're looking at Rashad White, again, I said that Jacory Croskey-Merritt is RB 36 right now. Rashad White is several spots after that. Katron Allen will be obviously like a late round draft pick if you take a stab at, stash on your bench. So all of them have potential and you don't have to make massive investments in them. So it's worth it to, at the very least, just try and see what happens. I'm in a good place, guys, because, again, at the beginning of the show, I mentioned that it was super hot because my AC was getting replaced. That sucker kicked in, and that is a good AC. So I'm a happy camper right now. I can literally feel it, just coming down on me right now, which is awesome because it's Houston. It's getting hot. From Jack Gray says Dobbins going to be so much more productive. Maybe you mean Rashad White. Might have been a little typo thing there. Or you're just comparing two different teams as in similar role. Oh, yeah. Maybe just two different, similar role people. Dobbins, more the early down guy compared to JCM, similar situation, early down guy, neither one of them. Now, Dobbins can catch, but he's not going to be used that way in Sean Payton's system. Dobbins, the only thing that is the issue with Dobbins, though, in terms of drafting him, because he is going in a similar range. The only issue with Dobbins is the fact that obviously we don't know if he can actually make it through. He's literally one spot ahead of Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Dobbins is RB 35 right now, and Jacory Croskey-Merritt is RB 36. But unfortunately, we just don't know, how long Dobbins will make it through the season, right? That's the only thing there with him, unfortunately. And Leaving says at that price, Kyle Monangai all day. I do like Kyle Monangai. And the thing that I do want to point out about side note about the Bears backfield, and the Bears in general, just remember the Bears were actually a really run heavy team. It never felt like it, right? Because it was two backs utilized not interchangeably. They had very clear different roles, but both utilized to a very significant level, right? It's not as if Kyle Monangai was just kind of like playing a few snaps there and coming in at some goal line. No, there was good usage on both of those guys there. The Bears had the 5th highest rush attempts in the league, and which is saying a lot because Caleb Williams ran significantly less than he did as a rookie. So just keep that in mind as well, especially when we're thinking about the receivers, right? The Bears are not a massive high volume passing offense, and they're not going to be. Ben Johnson keeps it very balanced, very intelligent head coach. He doesn't want them to be out there heaving it to a pointless way, right? So very balanced team, obviously. So just keep that in mind. Running backs are very interesting from Chicago because obviously we got a nice decreased ADP value on them. I love Kyle Monangai. I need him to pull through on a dynasty team one in particular, where I really need some more depth at running back. Lindwell says, I live in DMV, so he's given us insider information here. And Commanders fans are dead set on Jacory. He's a fan favorite. It makes sense, man. There's only so many times you can watch him and just see how electric he was on the ground. So if he can gain that trust at the very least of just having that early down 1 and 2 and then the goal line touches, the opportunity is going to be there, right? I would love the passing upside to exist for him. I don't think it will, but early down and just getting the majority of that work on the ground makes a ton of sense there for sure. Jack Gray says Rome over Burden. I like the spicy take there. You say Burden is overhyped. We do have more proven production from Rome. It's just a matter of, with Rome, it's just a matter, I think, of getting him more varied usage. I don't have do I have PFF pulled up or no? I don't think I do. Because I was going to look at the ADOT for them, and see how quickly I can pull it. No, actually, no, I'm not logged in. Yeah, no, I got it. What was Rome Odunze's ADOT? Rome Odunze's ADOT was 14.9 compared to 10 for Loveland and 7.9 for Luther Burden. And then DJ Moore what was DJ Moore's? 12? Yeah, 12.1. But that was the issue. Rome Odunze had the highest ADOT of the entire team. It was just sending him downfield, throwing bombs. I want to hopefully see more varied usage, perhaps him be able to take some of that workload from DJ Moore. So it's not just the bombs, and we're getting more targets to him in the intermediate area that can make him a more efficient receiver, because that's part of the issue. If you have a player whose ADOT is 15 plus yards, right? Consistency is going to be an issue in general. So, get some more varied usage on him, because he's got the talent to not just be a deep threat there. My God, he was, remember his rookie season? The level of debates that we had between Marv and Rome and Malik Neighbors for all of that to end up being, Neighbors is just very talented. But I think Rome can get there, right? He can get there at some point. Let's see here. Jumping to the comments. Yes, that's a good one here. Michael Alvin says, no one is talking about Brooks. I'm trying to buy low on him. I think it's a good one too. I think we talked about it a little bit with Jonathan Brooks. With the Panthers just in general, we've got multiple proven seasons here with the Panthers, the run game under Dave Canales. He doesn't have loyalty, right? In terms of, he will snatch your job away real quick. He's Chuba Hubbard snatched that job away from Miles Sanders. Rico Dowdle snatched that job away from Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard snatched that job right back-ish from Miles Sanders. So there's flexibility in terms of riding the hot hand, trying to figure out what works best for the offense. And given the fact that they did make that draft capital investment on Brooks, I have to imagine that if he's healthy, they're going to put him out on the field and see what they've got. Why would you not? Right. So, and if he gets out there, and we know exactly what Chuba Hubbard is, if he gets out there and he performs at a high level, I think, it's just a matter of staying healthy. So I think it's worth it, especially as, if you can get anybody to trade any of these rookie picks from, right? I mean, as we were talking about, those second round picks are obviously very decreased value. The third round picks are straight up not even worth it, right? Barely worth it or anything. So the decreased value there, I mean, if you want to go out there and with any of your 2026 picks, go, take a chance and grab Jonathan Brooks, I think it's a fine move there for sure. Saw some movement on him before the draft. Maybe after the draft it's a little harder just because we know the backfield is Chuba and Jonathan Brooks and Trevor Etienne, right? But still, I think it's worth it to make a nice little snag there because if he stays healthy, and we know that he's a 3-down back, he can catch, he can block it, he could have significant value there in a Carolina team that wants to lean on the ground game. They don't push aggressive pass volume. Bryce Young had literally 4 games where he threw over 200 yards. So they want to be successful on the ground. And if Jonathan Brooks can get them there, yeah, 100%. Spicy little comment here from GDTL or GDT1. I can't read. Coleman takes Dobbins' job by week 4. Oh, that is very spicy and realistic, right? Because we know Sean Payton too is also quick to snatch a job away and to experiment, right? We went through the nasty years of Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin, and who else was it? That he was mixing in there, just the little nastiest combination of an ugly committee that was unsuccessful. So yeah, he uses multiple backs. I would not be shocked if he puts Coleman in there and gets him, some touches right off the bat. And if he's effective, it might happen. It might happen. So I do like. I would if you were saying like apples to apples, who would I rather pick in terms of value? A late round stash in terms of redraft, right? Because Coleman is not a late round pick. He's definitely someone that I'm seeing in fantasy drafts going early second, right? But in terms of redraft, will be a guy that you can use as more of a later round draft pick, stash, and see what happens there. I think it's worth it for sure. Let's see here. What else do we have in terms of comments? Because it's a little bit late here. We've been going for 45 minutes, so I did end up giving us a good, nice little show here, even though we got started late here. Brooks has no knees. Comment from Jack Gray. Yeah, sadly. And Patrick Brickson says, I don't see it from Brooks. Expecting Keaton Mitchell. I'm expecting a Keaton Mitchell last year effort from him. Give me Trevor Etienne of the 2 if I have the roster size for it. That's a good point. But I just don't know if I believe in Trevor like that. I feel like I believe in him from a pass catching perspective, but I just don't know if I see him as a 3-down back. I think even at that point, all right, because they were experimenting last season and they never really gave Trevor an opportunity to really see what he could do. I feel like Chuba at the very least would have that priority in terms of keeping that job over him. So I don't know. But yeah, the good thing at least about Brooks is that getting on the field and getting a chance to prove what he has, because they've got to see what they've got. Now, his ability to stay healthy is the massive question there. But also, Chuba is a really good value as well. He's kind of in that, I say really good. It's an okay value. He's in that no man's land. He's RB 27 around guys like Jadarian Price, who probably is going to rise, right? And Jalen Warren, RJ Harvey, Rico Dowdle, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, right? So he's not the worst, but we know he can lose his job. So I don't know. I think I would take that stab on Brooks there. From leaving, what starters do you see getting close to? Ooh, this is a good one. I like this question leaving. What starters do you see getting close to committee? Kyren Williams, Swift, Chuba, if Brooks plays. We talked about Chuba, right? And Swift, I think that remains a committee. But I do think he still will have that preferential treatment over Manungai a little bit there as long as he stays healthy and effective. I mean, health in terms of him being a smaller back is always the concern there. But at least we've seen enough of DeAndre Swift with Ben Johnson at this point in his life, right? In his NFL playing career to know that if he's on the field and healthy and he's effective, he will be used. So it's a committee, but they run enough in Chicago to where I'm still okay with Swift. Kyren Williams is a very interesting one. I am lower than consensus on Kyren Williams because I do think that we are going to see that continued 50-50 split with him and Blake Corum. Everything that we saw last season, I think is going to be on repeat with them. And it was very effective. And I think we had, Sean Payton, well, not Sean. Yeah, no, sorry. Sean, wrong Sean. Sean McVay, when he does have a running back that he feels is the only one that he can trust, he will put them out there upwards of 90% of snaps, right? We saw that with Kyren Williams for 2 years that made him a very reliable guy. But now Blake Corum has earned that level of trust, and they're very interchangeable. They can do the exact same thing. It's not a role situation. So we've basically got two guys where Kyren Williams is still getting the bulk of the workload and getting touchdown opportunities. It's just because of the fact that Blake Corum is in there chipping away. The upside is a little bit capped, but volume is still there. But I do think it's going to continue to be the split committee and can operate in a 50-50 situation. But again, the good news is that it's not roles, and the Rams offense is so effective that there's enough touchdowns to where it's not a major concern. But I think it kind of keeps Kyren Williams from being a guy that can consistently have that overall RB1 upside, probably capped realistically at being a high-end RB2. I think low-end RB2 is more appropriate considering the split. So I'm a little bit lower on Blake Corum because I do think, on Kyren Williams, because I do think that Blake Corum usage that we saw is very sticky. I think that's going to continue there for sure. So that's a good one to mention there. From GDLT1, Black and Giddens are great handcuff options for CMC and Taylor. One of them is bound to get injured for a few games this season. So for Taylor, I feel fairly confident in him. Oddly enough, he is in a contract here. But Taylor, I feel fairly confident in just because, he is still relatively young enough to where in the workload last year wasn't really well, let's see what off the top of my head, I don't think it was obscene. Let me double check on that. So I'm not saying something that was incorrect. 32 attempts, 43 receptions. That is a lot of touches. It was a pretty aggressive usage. This was the second highest career touch of his career. So yeah, he might be a little bit of a regression candidate there. So handcuffing him, pretty critical. CMC though, absolutely. Unfortunately, they're with him, and it's tough to adjust CMC's ranking because the upside is just so stupid. But I got a bad feeling that we are in line for a CMC regression. The usage on him last year, which was just egregious. I get why they did it because they had to, because of the lack of receiving options. Everything had to run through Christian McCaffrey with all of the injuries that they were dealing with. But the usage was absurd. And based off of his history, when you get that high level CMC usage, that's an outlier. History says that it's going to be an injury riddled year, unfortunately. So that's a major concern there. But the problem here with CMC in terms of handcuffing is that it's tough to predict because we got Kalen Black that they used a overdrafted, right? Let's be kind. They overdrafted him, right? It was an egregious pick. That was their guy. But unfortunately, they've done this multiple times where they overdraft somebody and it's their guy. And it doesn't end up working out very well, unfortunately. So I don't, of all the things that I trust about the 49ers, which is not a lot, to be honest, I trust them to give volume to Christian McCaffrey. I trust them to have an amazing system that means that they can still produce no matter how many injuries they are dealing with. What I don't trust is their judgment in terms of evaluating running backs. It's sketch. They need somebody else draft it and you buy it, you trade for it. Yeah, it's been rough over the past several years. I mean, for a while there, they had a nice little run, a decent little run there for a while. But in recent years, it's been a struggle in terms of their judgment and whatever strategies they're using. John Lynch was talking about AI. He needs to adjust because whatever he is doing with his AI, it ain't working, unfortunately. So in Dynasty, because Kalen Black's ADP is just so repressed right now, I'm okay with taking it and just taking a stab there. But I've taken a stab on plenty of 49ers backup running backs. And man, I mean, between injuries and ineffectiveness and just it feels like it never works out. But it's worth it. We'll just need to see as we go through OTAs and whatnot, what is the true pecking order in there. Because it's entirely possible that it's not Kalen Black. Logically, it should be Kalen Black, but it's entirely possible that it's not. And really, Kyle Shanahan has never had any loyalty to draft capital in general, right? He will overdraft Tyrion Davis-Price. That one was painful. The overdraft a Tyrion Davis-Price to play a 7th round pick over him and not give, him even a chance. So yeah, it's tough to pinpoint where to go. So we do need to handcuff CMC. Somebody is going to have massive value behind CMC for sure, because it does profile as a unfortunate injury year. But man, it's tough to predict who it's going to be. Let's see here. We'll answer. Let me see. We've got a few more questions and then I will wrap things up. Jack Gray says RJ Harvey had a very underwhelming rookie season, a lot of wasted yards on the field, never really popped. Yeah, the inefficiency, like if you compare efficiency between him and J.K. Dobbins was far more effective. I know Sean Payton knows that, and I think that's why we got so much smoke around them being interested in a running back in free agency. So I got a bad feeling on that one. Rides and Wave says, where did Rico go? Rico went to Pittsburgh. I don't know if we have enough time to dive into the thought process around Pittsburgh. Maybe we'll talk about that one next week. Oh my God, because Pittsburgh is low-key going to be a nightmare in terms of where we talk. But the good thing is that we're not going to be drafting any Pittsburgh op. Like DK Metcalf is going to have the highest ADP of any Pittsburgh player in general. So we're not going to be drafting anyone egregiously there. But between Rico and Jalen Warren, it's going to be very interesting because Mike McCarthy, new head coach, he's the one that started Rico's career. He's the one that gave Rico his opportunity to be a starter. He likes Rico a lot. He brought in Rico. He recently said, oh, Rico's a 3-down back. We love him. Yeah, he is. Jalen Warren is by far the better pass catcher and better blocker. So if I had to guess where that backfield will go, I think that Rico will be the early down guy and goal line guy, and that Jalen Warren is going to transition to the role that Kenneth Gainwell had. And it's a new system, right? This is not the same system we had last year. This is not Arthur Smith. This is all Mike McCarthy, which is good because he pushes pass volume, check downs will be fine there. But I would anticipate, because Kenneth Gainwell is a great, Jalen Warren is a great pass catcher and a great blocker, excellent blocker, that's the split we'll have. And poor Caleb Johnson is out in the cold. Yeah. Patrick Brixton said Rico is nuking Jalen Warren. Yeah. Mike McCarthy really likes Rico a lot. So we got to keep that in mind. Let's see. What else here? Yeah, Leaving says James with CMC's direct backup for now at least. Yeah, I just don't have the confidence in saying that it's going to be Kalen Black. But again, in Dynasty, it's worth a pick to see. But just know that you could be throwing away a pick. Just keep that in mind. If it's your 2nd round pick, you could be throwing them away. And then Michael Albin says Lamar Jackson QB1. I am pro Lamar Jackson. He's my QB3. No, sorry, QB2. Let me know. Ugh. Sorry, Lamar. He's my QB2. You got to give the deference to Josh Allen just because of obviously the reliability that he's shown over the years is crazy. But my QB2 is Lamar Jackson, and I don't think it should be debated, honestly. When he's on the field, he's a top 5 every single week guy. Healthy Lamar Jackson, healthy. Excuse what he did in the back half of the season because he was not healthy. But healthy Lamar Jackson is a top 5 option on a consistent week-to-week basis. The only other person that can give you that is Josh Allen. So I actually just drafted Lamar Jackson in best ball as Superflex as my QB1. I do that every single time I can. Love me some Lamar Jackson for sure. Looking forward to a healthy version of him this season and a nice new rejuvenated Baltimore in general, new coaching staff, new offensive scheme, Declan Doyle bringing over that nice system from Ben Johnson. So yeah, we're getting new wide receivers. We've got alongside Zay Flowers. Now we've got Jacoby Lane. I like Jacoby Lane. Elijah Surratt. Love Elijah Surratt. We talked about Adam Randall. Like, I feel good about the moves that Baltimore made. Drafted well, very well. Very well. It's rare that you see multiple wide receivers drafted to a team and you look and say, I like both these guys. Love what they bring. And Rashad Bateman, I think, is on the way out. Sorry, buddy. That experiment unfortunately did not work out well. I think that Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt are both clearly, specifically Rashad Bateman replacements there. So that'll be good. Nice, well-rounded. And I still like Zay Flowers. I'm not worried about him because they drafted well in terms of drafting players that play off of each other very well. So I'm very excited to see this new receiving core for Lamar Jackson for sure in the new system. So all positives. But that wraps things up, guys. We did go an hour because I can't help but talk to you guys for an hour. But I appreciate you all tuning in. We'll do more. We didn't get through all our mailbag questions, but that's okay because I'm live every single Wednesday, usually at 8 p.m. EST. We were just a little bit late tonight because I had to get my new AC, which is pumping down on me from heaven right now. But I appreciate you all tuning in. I will be live next Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always ask me any questions, tag me on social media. It's Terra Time on all platforms. And of course, on my YouTube channel as well, if you want to drop comments. And I also, appreciate subscriptions as well. And then subscriptions to the Dear Miss Fantasy podcast as well. This is a podcast, the Dear Miss Fantasy podcast. Outside of that, I appreciate you all. I will talk to you all next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy these NBA playoffs. Bye, guys.